Hey guys, it's Jessica. I'm quite excited about today's video because I think it can help a lot of people out. It is ways that you can get yourself out of a reading slump. I seem to have a really great month of reading where I read between 8 and 10 books, followed by a way slower month where I fall into a slump and only read 3 or 4 books, and then I go back up the next month and down the next month, which is fine, but sometimes I need something to help me be more inspired to keep reading. I can't guarantee these will work for everyone, but some of these have really helped me, so here we go. The first thing that I try when I fall into a reading slump is to try reading a much shorter book, because some of the books I read are between 600 and 900 pages, and it can take you quite a while and you might slow down towards the end and just kind of give up altogether. And sometimes even if you do finish an 800-page book, you then kind of feel a bit tired from reading and don't want to pick anything else up. When this happens, I tend to go for books that are between 200 and 300 pages to get out of a slump. So 2 books that have really helped me over the past 2 months are The Picture of Dorian Gray, which I think is about 250 pages, and Piranesi, which is probably one of my new favourite books, which is around similar page number, I think, and I read it in a day and I was so inspired to keep reading after that. Shorter books are less of a commitment, so sometimes reading 2 or 3 of them before you start another big book can help you get out of a slump. The next thing that I like to try when I'm in a reading slump is to revisit an old favourite, because I already know that I'm going to enjoy it and it's nice to relive those memories of when I first read the book. So I did this in January when I reread one of my favourites, The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. It was really nice to revisit the characters and the story, and I spent the rest of the month reading other fantasy to try and find something similar to this. Another thing that I find can really help is to try a new genre, because I think we all know I read a lot of fantasy books, but sometimes you can only take so much before you need to try something new. On my current TBR, I actually have quite a few different genres, including The Five by Hallie Rubenhold, which is a non-fiction about Jack the Ripper, and Blood Orange by Harriet Tyce, which is a thriller. On my cart, I try and alternate between genres so that there's always something new to pick up. The next thing that I do, I started doing a few years ago, which is to pick up a short story anthology. This one in particular was really good for me because I'm a massive Edgar Allan Poe fan, and his Hideous Heart, which is a collection of stories edited by Dahlia Adler, is a whole host of Edgar Allan Poe retellings, and it also has the original tales in the back. With things like this, you can either read them straight as they are, or you can dip in and out of them whenever you feel like reading a little bit without committing to a whole book. In this particular retelling, I thought that the Annabelle Lee retelling and the Pit and the Pendulum retelling were absolutely amazing. My next bit of advice is to try a new format. Whilst lots of people struggle to even read one book in months, lots of people find that they can get through lots and lots of audiobooks or ebooks. There are lots of different apps you can use. There's Apple Books, the Kindle app, my personal favourite Borrow Box, where you can borrow audiobooks and ebooks from your local libraries. I personally really like to read at night, but sometimes it's too late and my eyes blur together, but if I listen to an audiobook I can still hear a story without being too tired. Sometimes when I'm not feeling inspired to read, I go look around a new bookshop and I pick up a new sparkly looking beautiful edition of a book. I can't say I have enough money to do this all the time, and a lot of the books I buy are secondhand and sometimes not very shiny and new, but being surrounded by books in a nice shop and getting to purchase a new book that you really want might mean that you pick it up straight away and start reading. My final piece of advice, and I think the one that helps me most when I'm in a reading slump, is that when I finish a book, I move straight on to the next one. Even if I only read a chapter before putting it down, at least I've made a start on that book, and hopefully it'll encourage me to keep reading at some point quicker than I otherwise would have. I hope these methods can help some of you come out of a reading slump as well, because sometimes I go days or even weeks without reading, and these methods really help me get back into it and enjoy the books and reading that I love again. I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to like and subscribe, or follow any of my other social media or book accounts that I will put in the bio. Thank you for listening, and I'll do another video again soon.